Now people trickling in, some of the members, some of the supporters, they want to be here tonight, but will they be the ones who have had the golden ticket to the winning shindig? Oh my gosh, we are excited here. We're waiting for the results to start coming in.
Thank you so much. We will be with Mikey throughout the night there at National Party HQ. Mikey looking resplendent in her yellow.
Labor is basing themselves in Lower Hutt tonight. Joining them is senior political reporter Benedict Collins. Benedict, how controversial is it for Labor to be in the Hutt?
Well, good evening. Well, I don't think the boy from the Hutt would have it any other way. Since Chris Hipkins became Prime Minister at the start of the year, he's done a lot of talking, really built his identity around being in the Hutt. And it might not be Auckland, but I think it makes perfect sense for Labor to be here. And he certainly does seem to get a decent amount of support here in the Hutt. I've spent quite a lot of the election campaign following Chris Hipkins around on the trail. It's been interesting to sort of watch him evolve. He started off, he was pretty wooden, he was quite standoffish with people, and then he got COVID, which wasn't any good either. But look, recently he's kind of started to build a bit of momentum. He's got his mojo here. And then recently we've seen the polls pick up for Labor as well. Chris Hipkins has spent the last week on the campaign trail saying, hey, we've picked up this momentum. We might be coming in here for a late win. Well, tonight we're going to find out.
We will indeed. Thanks so much, Benedict. We've got a raft of expert panellists helping us make sense of everything as it happens. Let's meet a few of them now. Former National Party leader Simon Bridges and former Green Party co-leader Materia Tude. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I want to start with you first, Simon. Labor really have been struggling in the polls, especially over the last few weeks. Why is National not doing better?
I think it's an interesting question. I think if you take the campaign, it's probably in two halves. The first half, actually, National showed good energy. I think Chris Luxon surprised in the debate. I think, though, in the second half, they've had a couple of big issues. The tax thing has continued to dog them. They just haven't had good answers on that. It's had a lot of problems. I think what's also true, and look, this is a problem that's a year in the making. If you think about the National Party on Winston Peters, it's always had a strategy from the start of the year. They just haven't. Sometimes a bad strategy is better than no strategy, and that's given Winston Peters oxygen, and that's been a real issue for them. Look, I think at a level you could say, and I don't mean to pile the pressure on my old colleagues, but this is an unlosable election at some levels. It has all the issues on the side of the centre-right. They have run a very small target campaign, though, and what I mean by that is they haven't been particularly bold. They've been quite cautious. We're going to see tonight whether that's worked, whether that's been a shrewd call, or whether actually in being quite small target, they've left quite a lot of room. One other thing I would say is turnout's going to really matter. Lower turnout tends to favour the centre-right. If it sneaks up, that favours the left.
Nice analysis, Simon Bridges. Thanks very much. Materia Tude sitting beside me. It's so nice. Kia ora. It's so nice to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Special guest. Let's go back to 2011 when the Greens won 11.9% of the vote, right? Your best ever night.
That's right.
And we're starting with the Greens tonight because actually, in some respects, they look to have had the best campaign. Winston Peters will say, no, I have. But actually...
On his horse.
Not his first rodeo.
Really not. But it's the Greens are potentially looking at their best election ever.
They really are.
Why?
They have years of experience to build on, but as always, they have a values base on which they which is the foundation of their campaign. They have excellent advice, and they are absolutely committed to saying what it is that they believe to be true and in the best interest of the country. And they have no fear of saying those things. So the wealth tax, the issues around poverty and climate change, they have all the passion that they've always had, even though they're actually quite a sort of conventional, in some respects, old party now in New Zealand politics. They've been around for a long time, but they keep up the energy because they're so passionate about those issues, and they keep saying that, and they're really solid, and people know that all of that is all based on solid values. That's what really counts, and I think that's what we'll see is the problem for the two major parties this time. We're
going to talk about that a lot tonight, and I'm really looking forward to that analysis. Materia Tude and Simon Bridges, great to have you both here. Just two of our excellent experts. They could be the power players this election. It's time to go to Russell, where Garth Bray is standing by at the New Zealand First Gathering. Garth, any sign? I don't even know why I'm asking you this question, Garth. Any sign of Winston yet? He likes to arrive last, doesn't he? No sign of him?
No sign yet, JC, no, but plenty of sign of Shane Jones, who's switched into a nice suit and tie. But earlier we caught up with him on the dockside. Hopefully you've got those pictures as he hauled in some pretty enormous snapper from out here in the bay. He spent the morning fishing, and I think actually they're consuming some of the spoils of that now all around us. I mean, if you had to rate a party on atmosphere, this one has got atmosphere plus at the moment. I've already passed on crayfish risotto and smoked mullet mousse as it's been handed around. But yes, you're right. Winston Peters the man of the moment, but no sign of him yet. We are told maybe nine-ish, depending on how those counts go. We might see the man himself, but we hope to be getting hold of the fisherman Shane Jones for you very shortly if he can come back to us.
Garth Bray with the good Kai at New Zealand First HQ in Russell. Thanks, Garth.
Not jealous at all. Heading to Hawera now to another important player. Supporters of Te Pāti Māori's Debbie Ngārewa Peka are gathering. Te Aniwa Hurihanganui is there. What's the turnout like there, Te Aniwa?
Kia ora, Jess. Kia ora, team. Well, at the moment, people are just starting to trickle in, so it's a little bit quiet, but it won't be for very long because Debbie Ngārewa Peka, Te Pāti Māori co-leader, she'll be here in around an hour's time, but she's got some pretty awesome performers coming tonight too. The Pātea Māori Club will be here. If you know the song Poie, you'll know who they are, an amazing kapahaka group, probably the catchiest song I've ever heard out of New Zealand. They will be on stage behind me, lighting this place up. This will be a big party, but I think there'll also be a few news here tonight because this seat is expected to be incredibly close. Whakaata Māori's latest poll in Te Taihoauru has Debbie Ngārewa Peka and Labour's Soraya Peke Mason neck and neck. This has been a Labour stronghold since 2014, but Te Pāti Māori have won it before, so I think it could go either way. This will be a seat to watch.
Thanks so much for that, Te Aniwa, and I've got Poia in my head already, so thanks for that too.
We're going to keep an eye on the results and bring them to you fairly shortly. Early results, several South Island electorates will be ones to watch tonight. Jenny Shaw is in Materia Ture's neck of the woods, Dunedin. What will you be keeping an eye on for us, Jenny?
Kia ora from beautiful Otepote, Dunedin. And yes, a couple of interesting ones down here in the lower south. We will start here in Dunedin. Typically a pretty safe Labour seat. David Clark holding it since 2011, but he is out. Rachel Brooking is in. And look, it could be a bit of a race between Labour and the Greens. Heading south to Invercargill. And look, it was really close there last time round. Nationals' Penny Simmons just beating out Labour's Liz Craig by about 220 votes. They are going head-to-head again this evening, and bearing in mind this is usually a safe national seat, it'll be really interesting to see who comes out on top.
Thank you so much. Talking about who comes out on top, Jenny Shaw, and we really appreciate it. We have some early results. Jack Tame.
That's right, JC. We told you the numbers would come in early. They have been counting early votes since 9 o'clock this morning. I will take you straight to the wall. This is about 170,000 votes. 170,000, more than that, 200,000 votes have been counted so far. As you can see, National, they're currently polling at almost 41% in the party vote. Labour at just 25.5%.
The red wall of West Auckland from Mount Roskill, Mount Albert, Te Atatu, New Lynn, to have those 4 seats with National in the lead. I think probably 2 will come back on specials, but that has never happened before in New Zealand political history. For Labour to go from 7 out of 7 on the Māori seats to be 6-1 down is extraordinary, and of course, 30% was the magic number. They're looking at about 25.7 at the moment. That's down 25% on 3 years ago. These are extraordinary shifts. Key thing here is the rise of the Green Party, actually, because in some of those West Auckland seats, it's the vote shift that's gone to the Greens that has tipped the electorate vote to National. And, the pundits will ask why that was. But there is a real debate going to have to happen about Labour playing this to the centre versus playing harder on some of its progressive policies. And did it say enough about climate change? It was about the cost of living, but it wasn't only about the cost of living. And this is extraordinary stuff.
Can I bring in you and Catherine Rich? Because and the reason we had you here tonight is because you had quite a unique experience. It's lovely to have you with us.
Thank you.
You were elected for National in '99, which was the year National got tossed out. Jenny Shipley lost that election after being in coalition with Winston Peters. You were in for 3 terms, opposition throughout.
That's right. I'm an expert on losing.
and yet tonight I'm asking you about winning, because your party is cleaning up. What's it like to watch National win?
Well, it's been such a surprise because when you look at the polls and having discussions with people all week, no one has predicted this. And it's really a case of the wisdom of crowds. And sometimes I wonder whether the methodology being used in some polling is as accurate as it can be. But some of the Labour strongholds that have fallen, I mean, who would have ever thought Jacinda Ardern and Helen Clark's seat would look bluish?
I honestly thought Mount Albert was as safe as it gets in the...
And this is going to change the entire fabric of the New Zealand Parliament. If you think ahead in terms of private members' bills, in terms of the way the Parliament works, the rise of the Greens, the greater number of Te Pāti Māori members coming in, it's going to be quite a different flavour for the next 3 years.
And we're going to get a little bit more of that flavour from Mikey at National HQ now. She's with Paul Goldsmith. Kia ora, Mikey.
Kia ora koutou, yes, that's right. Standing with me now is National MP Paul Goldsmith. And Paul, we are seeing some big moving and shaking in some of those red seats. We're talking Napier, Mount Albert, Te Atatu, Nelson, West Coast, Tasman, Mount Roskill. They are looking like they are going blue. Boy, oh boy, what do you make of it?
Well, it's a very encouraging start. There's no question about that. I mean, of course, the other thing that really matters is the party vote in an MMP election, and it's looking very good at the moment. Of course, we've still got a lot more to count, but we're feeling very positive.
So many seats flipping back, flipping blue. Did you expect that?
Well, I think there clearly has been a mood for change. There's no question about that, and it appears so far to be a very good night for the centre-right, and that is having an impact right across the country.
Your colleague Simon O'Connor, though, in Tāmaki, it looks like that may go to ex Brooke Van Velden. And on the list numbers, it doesn't look like he could be back at Parliament.
Well, we're obviously watching that closely, and there's still a way to go. And so there's early days in these electorates, but the main thing is certainly in the last couple of elections, that party vote hasn't changed too much over the night. And if it follows that pattern again tonight, then it's a very encouraging night.
Just finally, both you and I were at the last election night for the National Party where Judith Collins was the leader. How different is the feeling tonight?
Well, yes, it's very different, and we're feeling very encouraged by these early times. Of course, there's a little way to go, but this could be a night where we see a real change.
And Christopher Luxon, is he the man to lead the country?
Oh, I think he's going to make a great Prime Minister if we get the chance, and we're just waiting for those numbers, but he's really well equipped to lead.
Whether we'll see the ghost of Winston Peters come up and spoil the party for National here tonight, we shall see. We shall see. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks so much for that, Mikey. And Paul Goldsmith there, the picture of understated excitement.
Yes.
We're going to go to a break now. After that, we'll have Deputy Leader Carmel Sepuloni. She's assured voters all is not lost. We'll see you soon.
And they voted National. They're 56% National on their party list, but Brooke Van Velden is 2,500 votes clear. Ex-Deputy Leader. Goodness gracious me.
And she's more socially liberal than he is.
Well, yeah, although that's a fairly low bar. He's about as socially liberal as I'm in All Black. But that's the women's vote. Catherine Rich was saying to me before, absolutely fascinating story. Let's go to ACT now, where Katie Bradford is standing by. I think David Seymour is due there any moment. He's having a pretty good night, Katie Bradford.
Yeah, as you can imagine, they are pretty happy here. In fact, Brooke Van Velden herself is due to arrive in about 10 to 15 minutes. She's going to turn up in that bus called Big Pinky that we've seen a bit of this campaign, and David Seymour to come not long after her. But as you can imagine, the vibe here, particularly when those results for Tāmaki have come up on the TV screen, there's been a lot of cheering, a lot of yelling, a lot of very happy people about that, particularly because, as you said, she is streaks ahead of Simon O'Connor. It's not like some of those other seats where we're seeing quite a marginal marginal shift in those. This is very looking like Brooke Van Velden's going to win that. This event here is also very popular. You may be able to see the people lined up behind me. They have so many people wanting to come to ACT's election night event that they're having to let people out to then let more people in. So yeah, good vibes here tonight.
Absolutely, Katie. Such interesting stuff there, and really interesting that there's that big majority and that big lead with Brooke, and that will be giving the party a whole lot of buoyancy tonight, yes. That's for sure. Let's take a look at some more of those results now with Jack. Jack, over to you.
Kia ora, guys. Yep, I want to share with you some of the interesting electorate results coming in, and this is a race we have a very, very, very keen attention on at the moment. Megan Woods, the incumbent MP there in Wigram, just 256 votes ahead of Tracy Summerfield. Now, that is extraordinary. Megan Woods is one of the most senior Labour MPs. She was also the campaign chair, which does make things difficult when you are running a campaign because generally you are not able to be in your own electorate as much as some of your colleagues. So at the moment, Megan Woods just 256 votes ahead of Tracy Summerfield. We're going to keep a very, very close eye on that. Let's head up to the East Coast. And as you can see, Dana Kirkpatrick at the moment, almost 2,000 votes ahead of Labour's Tamati Coffey. This is the seat that had been held by Kiri Tapu Allen. Tamati Coffey initially said he was going to stand down and then decided that he would contest this electorate. At the moment, you would say, though, 2,000 votes behind, it looks like Dana Kirkpatrick is probably going to take the East Coast, although I would note just 20% of the vote has been counted there. So there is still plenty of time to go this evening. This is the state of the race in Rongotai. Julianne Genter at the moment, 248 votes ahead of Fleur Fitzsimons. Well, what will be very interesting, just look at those numbers for a moment. So Julianne Genter on 1,800 votes, Fleur Fitzsimons on just over 1,500, Karuna Metu on just over 1,400. Now, it's not inconceivable with just 16% of the votes counted that you could see some vote splitting there, right? That you could see the national candidate come through. This is the state of the race in Wairarapa. Kieran McAnulty, more than 1,000 votes behind Mike Butterick. He pointed out that those numbers had been moving around a little bit throughout the evening, but for most of this evening, Kieran McAnulty has been more than 1,000 votes behind his opponent, Mike Butterick, in that election. This is the state of the party votes at the moment. National at 42%, Labour at 25.7%. A full third of votes have been counted now. Really, guys, these numbers are not changing much. I mean, we got the first slab of numbers tonight, the first couple of 100,000 votes, and of course that wasn't necessarily demographically representative of the entire electorate. But you would have to say the numbers haven't changed that much. National still very, very comfortably ahead.
Te Pāti Māori having a great, great night, and their co-leader in Waiariki is Rawiri Waititi. Let's go there now. Te Okewa, what's happening?
Kia ora, John. Kia ora tātou e te motu whānui. Welcome back to Rotorua. Yes, the co-leader of Te Pāti Māori has just arrived outside the Te Pāti Māori Waiariki headquarters. He is accompanied by his whānau. We also have Dame June Māriu, one of his aunties, renowned in Te Ao Māori, or more so in the netball scene. But yes, they are about to do a exceptional haka to bring him through to the Surima, where he will be welcomed by his people.
Te Okewa, I'm just going to talk about Te Māti. I'm going to stop the moment the haka starts, but at the moment Te Pāti Māori are ahead in Waiariki, they're ahead in Te Taitonga, which is the old southern Māori electorate, which is so remarkably a Labour electorate that I don't think anyone thought Te Pāti Māori could win it. They're ahead in Te Tai Tokoro, which is the old northern Māori electorate. They're ahead in Te Tai Hauaru, which is Debbie Ngārewa Paka. Probably not such a surprise there. And so they are having an incredible night. And so, as Te Okewa said, this is going to be a noisy haka. And this comes back to the point Catherine Rich was making. We are seeing Parliament change in a whole lot of ways. It's not just about National being way in front. It's about, as David Cunliffe is nodding at me now, it is about Te Pāti Māori picking up votes from Labour in numbers I don't think anyone had predicted.
When I was an MP all those years ago in West Auckland, it was easy to have a great relationship with your Green colleagues because they knew and you knew that they weren't going for the electorate vote. It was a party vote only campaign. Not true today.
No.
The Greens could win Rongotai, for God's sake.
Yes.
Which will have Annette King returning in her diplomatic circle.
Yes, it will.
It will.
Nanaia Mahuta is behind in Hauraki Waikato.
Yeah, which is a great shame, because I have to say that she is a person of extraordinary integrity. She's been a good foreign minister, and she's pushed back boundaries for women, so I really want to acknowledge her.
Going to lose a lot of institutional knowledge tonight, particularly for Labour, I think, and it's going to be difficult to try and reinvigorate that from a small base.
Hold the electorate. Let's listen to her.
And we work absolutely every single day to earn the trust and the privilege of representing our communities, because that's what grassroots community building and change looks like. It looks like all of you. And folks, I mean, I know that we've all been paying attention to what's happening around us right here in Auckland Central, but can we just have a moment for Wellington Central? We spent a good few years getting that Tamitha Paul on the Green Party vibe, didn't we? But look at what we have achieved. I also want to mahi to Ricardo Menendez March. Where are you, Ihoa? That campaign out there in Mount Albert. There's Ricardo. Give a big clap for Ricardo. For the community that was built, for the campaign that was run. Because campaigns are a manifestation of hope. They are a movement to achieve all of the things that all of us so deeply and profoundly believe in. And they don't end here. Because all of us know that so many of our communities have been struggling under this trickle-down economics thing that so many of those other political parties take for granted. Under an economic system that exploits both people and the planet. But all of us here in this room know that that stuff, that ain't inevitable. That is the consequence of political decisions. And what we have shown with our results tonight, I just also need a shout out to Rongatai. Who's paying attention to that one?
This is Chloe Thorburg speaking live at Auckland Central, where she is ahead and looks on track, although only about a third of the votes have been counted, but she looks on the track to hold the electorate. And the reason she is so excited, she's talking about Tamitha Paul in Wellington Central. Materia Ture is sitting beside me. She's talking about Julianne Genta, who was narrowly ahead in Rongatai, is that prior to Chloe winning Auckland Central last election, the Greens had one electorate in their history, Jeanette Fitzsimons and Coromandel. So if they're potentially going to have 2 or 3 electorates and 10 or 11% of the party vote, ka-ching, it's a good night for them.
Yeah, really interesting stuff. But we're going to go now to Ryan Boswell, who lives in Christchurch and is with us tonight with Labour's Megan Woods. Live, I mean.
Kia ora, team. Despite the result that Labour's getting through tonight, they seem to still be quite buoyant here in Christchurch. Of course, Megan Woods is the MP for Wigram. She's held that seat since 2011 and she has been the party's campaign chair. Tēnā koe.
Good evening.
How are you holding up? Is this the result you expected?
Oh, look, I think without doubt this is a tough night. I think we're seeing that around the country. Things are really close. One of the things that we're really mindful of, though, is that the vote's about a third counted. Most of that is their early vote, and we know that the momentum shift to Labour really came in the later days of the campaign. We're seeing as those later votes are coming in, we're seeing some upticks for Labour, both in seats and in party vote in various seats. So without doubt a difficult night, but we're aware there's still a long way to go this evening.
Is there anything you would have done different in the campaign?
Oh, look, no, there isn't. Really proud of the campaign we've run. Obviously, we'll have to go back and analyse that. Tonight really is about our candidates and our members getting together and digesting these results, and there's still a lot of that to come through this evening.
in Christchurch, we've seen a number of seats shift from Labour to National and back and forth. Even your seat, Wigram, you lost it at one stage. Obviously, that was early on, but that must be worrying.
Yeah, and look, it's obviously tighter than I would have liked, but I think as we've seen, as those other votes start coming in, that I'm in the lead again. But I'll be continuing to watch that one as the evening goes through. But look, we're in Christchurch East tonight. We're obviously seeing a brand new MP coming in here with Reuben Davidson looking reasonably comfortable in the lead in Christchurch East. And we'll be watching the results keenly throughout the evening.
Right, thank you so much. Thanks, team.
Thanks very much for that, Ryan. And a key storyline to come from this election is the success of Te Pāti Māori. Jack has an update for us now, Jack.
Yeah, kia ora, Jess. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And, you know, Megan Woods isn't wrong there in that these are still early days, right? We still have a majority of votes yet to be counted, 40% at the moment. This is the party vote as it stands. National at 41.7, Labour at 25.8. Again, guys, I know I've said this all throughout the night, those numbers are not changing much. So even though Labour is hoping for a late surge when the votes that were cast today have been counted, so far at least we haven't seen a whole lot of movement here. But yes, Jess, let's pick up on those Māori seats. So this is the state of the race at the moment. Currently, Te Pāti Māori lead 6 seats. Labour leads just 1. There are only a couple of seats at the moment where Labour looks like they might be making some progress. Tāmaki Makaurau, things are very, very close indeed. It's interesting, though, in Ikaroa Rāwhiti, which is, of course, the seat that Meka Whaitiri, the former Labour minister, was contesting. At the moment, she is currently behind, so it'll be fascinating to see what those numbers mean later on. This is the state of this is the state of the changing Māori electorates. Hauraki Waikato, Ikaroa Rāwhiti is looking like it's going to shift to stay with Labour. Tāmaki Makaurau, Te Pāti Māori, and Te Tai Hauauru, Te Pāti Māori. The reason that we are focusing so much on these Māori seats is a couple of reasons. One, generational change. Morgan, you've talked about that already. Number 2, though, overhang. We really need to think about this. When we count up all of the results from tonight, I think it's looking incredibly likely we are not going to have a parliament with 121 seats, even after the forthcoming by-election. We're going to look at several extra seats for Te Pāti Māori, which means the governing parties will require more seats in order to have a majority.
Yeah, nice, Jack. Thank you. All over it like a rash over there. Thank you so much, Jack. Lovely work. Morgan. I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah,
truly. Honestly.
What kind of rash, John?
A good rash. The best kind of rash. The sort of rash you want.
Do I need to intervene here? It feels like I do.
Morgan Godfrey, Te Pahi Poto?
Yes.
And Materia Ture, Ngāti Kahununu. So let's talk about this. What is going on in the Māori electorates, Morgan Godfrey?
One of the weird ironies is that if Te Pāti Māori did not take Meka Whaitiri, they may have actually won all 7 seats. It's a bizarre night in the Māori seats. It's a bizarre night for Meka Whaitiri, and it's a bizarre night for the Labour Party to be losing 6 but picking up the 1 seat they didn't really expect to pick up. So we're going to see some strange results, I think, there. But as Jack says, just to reinforce, the overhang will be crucial. At this stage for the left, they will probably be hoping the Māori party vote is low so that there is a greater overhang through the electorate seats. Because that is really where the left's hope is right now, is that the Māori Party poll low enough in the party vote but win enough of those electorate seats to deprive National and ACT of that clear and outright majority.
And that looks like what's happening. It looks like 123 seats in Parliament at the moment. So it's exactly what you're describing, because the Te Pāti Māori party vote is at 2.5, so they're winning more electorates than their party vote would entitle them to. Materia Ture, I loved your answer you gave before, because you explained why Te Pāti Māori are doing so well. What is the message for Labour here?
The message for Labour is to stand on your principles and actually defend your record on Māori issues. I mean, this is the thing about He Pūpua that I mentioned earlier. You know, it was an amazing report that talked about how we could become a country that really recognises and delivers on our UNDRIP responsibilities. Willie Jackson buried it. The National had to fossick for it, and they turned it into a political weapon that Labour never got back on top of. So, you know, they've got to actually defend Māori issues from that constitutional point of view, or they lose, like they have.
I think the thing too is that in the Māori electorates, we're seeing this strange result because of the ratchet that was put on, or the heat that was generated, not by Labour, but by National, ACT and those other parties, you know, the fringe people who are anti-co-governance, who are anti the treaty, who want a referendum on the treaty principles. So I think in part that this is a vote against those parties, because the best sort of middle finger to those parties is to vote for Te Pāti Māori, and that is what the Māori electorates have done, and they may have a decisive role in the election because of it.
Do you think, Materia, that applies more broadly than just on Māori issues, standing on principles like a capital gains tax, for example?
Wealth tax, actually, standing for something and being really confident and upfront about it. People want their leadership and our governance to be strong and to have a values base and to have the policies that will sit behind it. I don't want to take away, though, from the amazing record of Te Pāti Māori over this last term. They have been super staunch. They have not compromised on their tikanga in the Parliament. They have changed the rules of Parliament by their presence there. They've challenged the processes and systems in there. They've really stood up for what they believe is the right way to be Māori in Parliament. And I think that is why so many Māori people have been so attracted to them over these electorates.
Here. You know, I'm just talking about, I was thinking, I want to pick up on your phrase, the middle finger, because it's such a good phrase, and because you leave the fourth form right, but there's some part of it that remains.
We can say it this time on television.
So let's talk about the middle finger that the main parties are getting. So if we add National and Labor together, we're looking at about 66%, 67%. I don't think the two main parties have ever got less than 70% in the history of this country. In other words, the middle finger is being shown all over the shop, isn't it?
And it's so telling, and we've seen the rise and rise of those minor parties gobbling away at that support.
Yeah, I think Materia made a really good point in that when Labor did not stand by its values, when Chippy made a so-called captain's call to rule out the wealth and capital gains tax, that's when Labor started to bleed support to the Greens.
Yes.
And we see a resurgent Green Party because of that. And he didn't win the centrists. He just didn't. Yeah, he tried to, and he lost.
And speaking of some of those other parties, ACT now.
Nice segue, Jess.
Did you like that?
So good. So good.
I'm going to work on it, and I'm going to better that one. But let's now go to Brooke van Velden in Tamaki.
Really grassroots activism for people wanting local democracy in Tamaki, and it's been a real wonderful event tonight. We've even had lots of children who have been a huge part of this campaign too. I've really enjoyed seeing so many kids wind down the windows as we've been sign waving, getting in on the action and spurring us along. So thank you to all of the parents and the kids who want to change for the better in Tamaki too.
From working with David Seymour on the End of Life Choice Act and then becoming deputy leader, and now you're an electorate MP. How does it feel? It's quite a successful path.
Well, look, all I believe in is hard work and being accountable to the people with good local democracy. That's all I've ever wanted being part of the ACT Party, is to listen to people, understand their concerns and try to find the best solutions to solve not only local people's problems but the real structural issues that we face as a country. And so I look forward to being in Tamaki as a local MP and helping my constituents. But I also look forward to potentially seeing a change of government, that we can have real change. And this result for ACT is looking like we'll have real change as part of a government, but it's still a little...
What do you think helped you win? What was it that you did in Tamaki, or what is it that people didn't want?
Right, that was listening to Brooke there at the ACT Party headquarters.
She is now more than 3,000 votes clear of Simon O'Connor, National Simon O'Connor, in what has historically been a safe national seat.
Yeah.
I need to point out that 2002, the two main parties did go below 70. Thanks, Jack. Stay tuned to this election special. We're with Nationals Chris Bishop, having a good night in Hutt South, having a good night generally after the break. Ahead in the national stronghold Tamaki as well. So David Seymour arriving, Jess.
Yeah, and you can see it on his face, the way he's going in. Perhaps not the lofty heights that ACT had right at the beginning of the campaign. They've come back a little bit from that, but on these numbers, they would still be bringing in 12 MPs, which of course is a rise. Let's listen to David Seymour.
So many people who have put their trust in ACT tonight. This country has voted for change, and a record number have voted for real change. You know, I've long said that getting elected is not an achievement, It's an opportunity to do good. And for all of those people who ticked the box and lent their vote to ACT, putting their trust in us to make this country more affordable, to make it safer, and perhaps most of all, to make it a more united place where each and every person is included. Thank you. We will work tirelessly and will not cease from the effort required to make sure that this country delivers the promise it has made to so many people, those who were born here, those who were born far away and chose to be here, those from north, those from south, men and women, rich and poor. We are all New Zealanders who seek 1/5 of the opportunity this country has to offer. And that is what ACT promises, the idea that we are each alike in dignity and can choose to make a difference in our own life. If those are your values, we are here to support you. There are so many people that I can't thank enough. So many people whose support and encouragement has inspired me. All those people who delivered flyers in the rain, knocked on doors, came to my street corner meetings. All of those people who had so many other things that they could be doing, but they chose to participate in our democracy and contribute to real change. Those are the people that made tonight. I want to thank my neighbours in the Epsom electorate for sending me to Parliament for the 4th time as your MP for Epsom. Thank you. And I want to congratulate my next door neighbours in the Tamaki electorate for your excellent choice. You know,
that was David Seymour there just talking about their win in Tamaki, which is a big deal for the ACT Party. But we'll now turn to National. Mikey Sherman caught up with the former Prime Minister John Key, who was arriving at National headquarters.
So many seats flipping blue. Did you expect it?
A little bit, I mean, because obviously 2020 was a disastrous result for us. So, yeah, we always thought we'd get back some of those seats that we really probably shouldn't have lost in 2020. But, you know, what I think's really been happening out there is that New Zealanders have been doing it tough. It's been what Chris Luxon's been saying. You know, there's been a cost of living crisis, and I think people have been frustrated about law and order and health and education. So it's not really surprising that, you know, given the opportunity, New Zealanders have said we really do need to change. We need to get back on track, and I think that's what we're seeing tonight.
So we heard there from Sir John Key, but before that we heard from David Seymour. Liam, what was your take on what the ACT leader had to say?
I mean, the ACT Party can rightly celebrate and they can rightly feel good about tonight, but let's take a proper balanced view at this. I mean, one of the big stories of this election has been the decline of ACT from where it was, you know, a month ago, 3 months ago. Yeah. It's the best ever result, but the ACT Party had some serious hubris about the fact that they might get really, really close to, you know, getting to 20 or close to 20. They put diverted a lot of resources into gunning for Tamaki, which has paid off. It's, you know, but how much of that has come at the expense of running a much more nationally focused campaign. So, look, David Seymour will feel awesome, but the big story of this election really has been the decline of ACT from where it was months ago and the defection of a lot of ACT voters to New Zealand First. If that hadn't happened, we wouldn't have Winston Peters possibly being the broadcasting minister going forward. But it did.
You're just saying that to taunt us, aren't you?
I wonder if
there was a low blow, Liam, here.
I wonder if they foot-tripped themselves by raising the spectre of going issue by issue in the Parliament, and that might have been a trigger point for a lot of people to say, no, I don't want that. I actually want to choose a team that could form a strong and stable government.
And it's interesting, I did that interview with him and he was really precise in the language there. He said that it was sort of taken out of context, but that very first initial interview, I spoke to him very clearly and he absolutely said that they were considering going issue by issue, that confidence and supply issue that we've seen. So, yeah, really interesting. But we're going to go now to Chris Hipkins. We're going to Labour's headquarters and Chris Hipkins is arriving.
We're just going to see, they don't tend to speak much on the way in, particularly when they've had a bad night. And he will be wanting to address the party faithful first. So he's just driven from his home in Upper Hutt to the Lower Hutt Town Hall. Oh, no, you're speaking.
Yeah, and there's Benedict Collins there. He'll be putting some questions to him.
I will share it all when I get in there. I just want to talk to the people who have put so much time and energy and effort into this campaign.
Do you have a plan B yet?
And then do you
have a plan B?
You guys afterwards. So.
How devastating is this for Labour, though? It must have been pretty hard to watch those results come in.
As I've indicated, I'm going to talk to the people in there first. So.
The momentum you were hoping to get never arrived, Prime Minister. That momentum that you were saying was coming, it just never arrived. Why do you think it didn't come?
What's your message to those other? What is your message to
Chris
all of
Hipkins
those,
not replying to that. As someone who's looked at and stood and listened to the Prime Minister a lot over the last 9-10 months since he got into the job, you can just see in his body language how flat he is feeling. He's putting on a brave face.
Yeah, to quote the Toyota Commissioner, I think he's buggered, isn't he? He really has had enough. It's interesting, at the beginning of the night, there was a point that the Nats were hovering at around 42, just under 42. They're now 40.2. Labour were at about 25. They're now 26.2. And Jack, we've been talking about that all evening, that as the Today votes came in, as opposed to the early votes, and then subsequently the specials, that the gap between them would close. Now, Catherine Rich, you said to me somewhat presciently some minutes ago, because I was saying that the National and ACT vote combined might be enough. You said, no, they're going to need New Zealand first. Is that your sense?
I think they're going to need them in some capacity, whatever the arrangement is, because you want to have a buffer in order to be able to drive through your agenda. Think about the Parliament. It's going to be a fiery Parliament with more Green members and greater participation by Te Pāti Māori. You're going to want to have a buffer to allow you to feel safe in putting your agenda before the Parliament.
And that's why John Key worked with Te Pāti Māori, right? So, in fact, there's nothing wrong with having a safety net, I guess.
And also, I mean, certainly New Zealand First brings experience. There are actually very few members going in to become ministers who have that ministerial experience of being able to drive an agenda through the public service. I think what has happened with Labour is that quite often some of their ministers have issued press statements and thought, it's all a done deal, when in fact the public service, through inertia or lack of speed, just doesn't get things done. You need senior ministers who have been through that before.
You're talking about Winston Peters as a senior minister, potentially?
Yes, also Shane Jones.
Yeah, Shane Jones, yeah. Okay. Boy, this is interesting. So, Jack, so at the moment, we've got an overhang. We're looking at 122, 123 seat parliament.
Yeah, and so just look at that key number there, which is National's party vote at the moment. The bottom left of your screen, right there, okay? Down there we go. 40.2% at the moment. Now, that has slowly gone down, only by little infinitesimal margins,
about 1.5% during the night.
Sure, but over 3 hours, right? But imagine, so we're at 70% party vote now, but keep in mind how the special votes might change.
Truly.
So in 2020, there were 500,000 special votes, and those take a couple of weeks to add up. Typically, we would expect the special votes to favour Labour and the Greens or to favour the left bloc. Here's the party vote as it stands. So it's not inconceivable that National would maybe slip under 40% on the current trend for this evening. And if that's the case, then I think you're exactly right. Then we could see National requiring the support of Winston Peters. Maybe not to give them a majority, but to give them a more comfortable majority.
I also wonder, though, whether the special votes this time may be different, because remember, there are a lot of offshore New Zealanders who are still angry about feeling they were locked out of their own country.
Yeah, that's a really good point. There's good reason to think that perhaps the special votes won't favour the left bloc, if we can term it that way, as much as they have in the past.
Interesting stuff there, guys. It's time for a quick break now. Christopher Luxon should be leaving home soon. We'll see you in a moment.
Labor?
Well, it's really for Labor to work that out. What it meant for us was that we could see on the ground that, we did speak to New Zealanders, and we worked really hard over the last year to really listen and understand what Kiwis need and expect from us. And I kept saying it's about, rebuilding the economy, restoring law and order, delivering better health and education, and we were very disciplined about making sure we delivered practical, common sense ideas to take the country forward, and now we go to work and go get it done, and that's what we're going to do.
Does Chris Hipkins need to step down, do you think?
Sorry?
Does Chris Hipkins need to step down?
Oh,
what does the leader do in that situation?
Look, that's ultimately a decision for him and the Labor Party, but for tonight, for the National Party, we've worked so hard, and we have come so far in the last 18 months, 2 years, and I'm so proud of all of our team, because as I said when I became the leader, we do this politics as a team sport, and we play as a team and we go up and down as a team, and whether you've been a supporter and a volunteer, or whether you've been a candidate or an MP or a party official, we've done this as a team, and I'm really proud of our group.
Now, you mentioned Winston Peters there. If you don't need him, would you still bring him into the mix, or would you rule him out tonight?
Well, as I've said all the way through, we think a strong two-party coalition arrangement with National and ACT is really the right way forward, and I think the country has voted for change and delivered that tonight. But I also appreciated Winston Peters' remarks about saying if help is needed, he's there to help as well. And so, the reality is, New Zealanders have voted for change tonight, and we've got work to do, and so the work begins tomorrow.
Final message for those who are heartbroken on the left tonight, who are worried that, we have seen so much division in the country. How will you unite this nation?
Yeah, look, I appreciate there'll be people that have never voted for National and didn't tonight, and I appreciate how they'll be feeling, but I want them to know that we're going to be a government for all New Zealanders, that we have a great country, and we want to see every Kiwi flourishing, and that's why I came to politics. I know that's why my team is there as well, and so we're going to go to work. We've got some tough days ahead of us and some tough realities to face up to, but we can do this. We can do this as a country together, and we're going to have hope because we have a plan to be able to take the country forward. So it's a really exciting time, but I want to reassure everyone we're going to be working to make this country more united. We're going to deal with our economic challenges. We're going to make sure we have rights and responsibilities at the heart of our society, and importantly, deliver better services for people. So
there will be plenty of people who want to talk to you and congratulate you tonight.
Thanks,
so
Mikey.
I'll
really
leave it there. Congratulations. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it.
And we'll send it back to the studio.
Thanks so much for that, Mikey. And talking about this team here in the studio will be back with you right after the break.
Kia ora, guys. Welcome back. It's almost bedtime, so before we leave you tonight, we're going to give you the final vote tallies as they stand. 96% counted, 39.2 for National, 26.7 for Labor, the Greens at 10.7, ACT at 9.1, New Zealand First at 6.5, Te Pāti Māori at 2.6. However, of course, they look set to win 4 electorates, which means we end up with a parliamentary overhang. Have a look at this. This is how things are shaping up in the House. If we have an overhang, and that looks extremely likely at this stage, we'll have 121 seats in Parliament. That means you need 61 to have a majority of the House. Do the maths. National plus ACT, that's 61 seats exactly. So it's a majority, but a narrow majority. And keep in mind, we still have special votes to come. If special votes end up costing that right bloc 1 seat or 2 seats, then it will be true that that National and ACT need the support of New Zealand First in order to form a government. But it's going to be fascinating to watch this play out over the next few days. Yes, it looks likely that National will form the next government, but I think it looks increasingly likely that Winston Peters is going to have some serious involvement.
And I think we were really prepared for this period of uncertainty. We've got our panel here with us. We're actually going to go to a grab of Christopher Luxon first, hearing from our new Prime Minister-elect. Here's Christopher Luxon.
If we listen to the people needing interest rates to come down so they can pay their mortgages, and we listen to the people that need tax relief to help pay for the grocery bills, and we listen to the retailers who want to know that the justice system is putting offenders' interests first, and we also listen to the patients waiting 11 hours at the emergency department who know that the front line needs support. And tonight you have given us the mandate to take New Zealand forward.
So Christopher Luxon
I'm just
there.
doing health and safety. David Cunliffe's coming in.
There's either a seat at that side.
Go down and sit next to Faf down there.
Yeah.
And Morgan Godfrey's coming in because we're getting to
David
the end of the
Cunliffe on the
night.
far right.
Yeah.
I've always been on Faf's right.
The political jokes coming out when just before midnight tonight.
Right, I think Jack, you're going to come and join us over here too. I think everyone should. I think, and also Jack, you've done a stunning job over there with
Yeah.
All good. Here we go.
So everyone's going to have a last word. Is that so? We've got shivers. We've got 2 minutes.
Okay.
2 minutes. So everyone's
literally a last word.
Quick last word. David Cunliffe.
Bloody tough night for Labor, but what matters now is what happens next. We don't know about ACT, and the left's got some big things to do.
Chris Farfoy.
Benedict Strauch sums up nothing to celebrate for tonight for Labor.
If they need New Zealand first for 1, they might as well need them for 10. I'm going to make a big call. Don't discount a national New Zealand first coalition government with ACT on the sidelines.
Ooh, big call.
Let's end this goal.
Simon Bridges.
I'd say ditto on the New Zealand first part. Placing a call to Winston Peters, I think, is better sooner rather than later. It can't be the very last thing that happens. Tonight I came in quietly confident, but seen things tonight that I'd never thought I'd seen, the falling of some of those Labor strongholds. So tomorrow starts the hard work. We've got some big issues in this country and some very big expectations as a result of tonight.
Look, National Party supporters, enjoy it. Enjoy the moment. You don't know what 3 years is going to bring. Labor Party supporters, don't feel too bad. This will change too.
Thanks,
and congratulations to David Cunliffe for your record in 2014 remains unbroken.
Oh, no. I thought he was just being so charming.
Andrew Little broke it, but not on election.
Now. Gee, you were being so sweet there. It just turned feral at the end. So Teria today.
Oh, amazing night for the Green Party. They're going to crack that 11% with the specials. They're going to break mine and Russell's record. We're very happy about that. The 3 electorates that they've won is just an incredible thing. And then Māori Party coming back so strong. Really good night for them. Hard for the poor in this country, but as always, we'll wrap around them.
Morgan Godfrey.
3 congratulations, I think, tonight. First to Te Pāti Māori. The second to Winston Peters. The crypt door has been opened and he is back. The third is to Liam. You win this time, but we'll be back in 2020.
Jack Tame.
Huge night for Te Pāti Māori. Huge night, but I reckon there's more to play out in the shape of the next government. It's going to be a fascinating couple of weeks.
And I think that everyone's now feeling a sigh of relief. But for all of us political reporters, we go back to Wellington and it all starts on Monday.
You do such a great job, you and your team, Jess. I had a bet with my FM that I would say the words uso, bamboozled and mafana on the TV tonight, so I just won it.
Does it count if it's
it wasn't my best work. And also there's a drinking game which I think has me making a speech about democracy, so I'm going to end on one. I queued up to vote in Mount Albert today. We had to wait 25 minutes to vote and I was surrounded by people I was absolutely certain were not voting the same way I was voting. And we chatted to each other and we spent time together, and at the end of it I felt hopeful. And I do think we're at our best when we get along. The point you was making is if Christopher Luxon is good to his word and he doesn't leave people out, then that will be a fantastic thing. And I hope tomorrow we wake up in this country and get along with each other, because if we don't, where does that leave us? I also want to do a shout out tonight to our studio crew and our directors and everyone responsible for organising, doing such a brilliant job. And we did all right, eh?
Yeah.
We never worked together really before.
I just said it.
I don't want to get carried away, but the words Torval and Dean spring to
mind.
Don't drop her on her back.
And on that note, let me continue the theme of this night and I'll keep us on track. There you have it, Aotearoa, New Zealand. We have a new leader. Christopher Luxon is our 42nd Prime Minister. What a ride it's been. He wasn't even in Parliament 3.5 years ago, and now he's right there at the top. What a night. It wasn't quite what the pundits or the polls called it. Winston Peters not quite yet given the keys to the kingdom, But as Jack has said, there's still a lot of conversations to be had, including those on
Jack.
Q&A in not that many hours' time with Jack tomorrow morning.
I need to sleep here. Can you
stay here?
But of course, if you're too hyped to sleep, you can go to theonenews.co.nz for more coverage on all of tonight's happenings. Thank you so much for being with us.
All of you.
And for the whole team, Pō Mārie, good night.